Welcome to Sovereign Mamas, the podcast sanctuary for visionary women who are building lives, businesses, and legacies in alignment with their feminine power. I'm your host, Julia Jerg, intuitive business coach, mama of two, and systems strategist for solo-led entrepreneurs. Here, we honor both your sacred role as a mama and your wild vision as a changemaker. Expect soul-aligned strategy, raw storytelling, behind the scenes, and powerful conversations that support you in scaling your business without sacrifice. If you're done choosing between success and sovereignty, you're home. Let's begin. Welcome back to the Sovereign Mamas podcast. I'm happy to have you back on the show and really dive in to maybe one of the topics that we haven't even had on the show yet, and yet is so important. It's something that everyone needs to actually have as a priority. I always feel like we're looking outside our bodies a lot, and there's so much going on in our life. But if health isn't checked, and if you do not focus on your well-being, nothing else matters, right? So today's guest will bring us back into this awareness if you may not be focusing on it already. And I'm really, really happy to have you. Hi, Chelssea. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you. I'm so excited to be here and share my knowledge with your listening base.
Amazing, amazing. Before we go into the questions, maybe tell the audience, the audience a little bit about you, your background, your children, like how many do you have and where are you at in your motherhood? And then we dive straight into the topic of your expertise.
Yeah. So a little bit about me. I am a mom to four boys. The ages range from 17 down to 9. And um,
That
it,
already earns you a medal, by the way.
thank you. Thank you.
Boy,
We
mom.
kept trying for a girl, but feeding four boys is enough. So
Oh my God, thank you that you say this. I keep wondering if it's just my boys or if it's just in general the gender, but they eat so much.
yes.
It's
Yes.
insane.
I don't have any girls to compare it to, but from what I have heard, boys definitely eat a lot more. And I see that in my house. Like my grocery bill is the biggest line item in my budget. It's
Yes,
crazy.
it's crazy.
Um, so
Uh,
yeah, I'm a mom to four boys, ages 17 to 9. They are all homeschooled. My oldest is graduated, and my second oldest, who is getting ready to join into the Marines. He leaves for boot camp in March. And then I have my two younger ones, who are 9 and recently 11. And I became a mom when I was 15, so I've actually been a mom for a while now, and from a young age too, which kind of started my journey, a little bit into, the health and then the mindset space. Um, I am currently a functional nutritionist. I started out in Western medicine. When I graduated high school, I went on to nursing school. Um, and then I just didn't feel aligned. Through that process, I had met my husband. We got married and, we had, our two younger ones at the time. In nursing school, I just didn't feel aligned anymore. So my last year of nursing school, I dropped out. And that's when I entered into the functional medicine space. And through that, I didn't feel aligned anymore because of my own health challenges that I was going through. And when I was seeing my primary care provider, I was kind of just getting shrugged off and told that it was normal, or that they just wanted to put me on a birth control pill, or, throwing pills at me, but they couldn't quite give me, answers. And so that didn't feel right or good. And so here, that entered me into the functional medicine space. And so, yeah, now here I am years later, and Everything that I do with my patients and my clients is usually because it's a health challenge that I have gone through myself. And so, yeah, so that's where I am at today.
So interesting. Yes. And so you talk a lot about, spending years of feeling dismissed and confused by symptoms like bloating, sleepiness, fogginess, or brain fog, right? And so then you said nothing worked, and you went on this journey yourself. You wanted to change something.
Mhm.
So what was it actually that you think your body was trying to tell you?
Yeah, so I I I think I think people get, for me personally, it was more of a mental thing than it was anything. And it also was more of, because, your thoughts and your emotions affect, like they show up in symptoms in your body. And that was some of it for me coming out of, like I said, I had a baby when I was 15 and I don't want to say I had a traumatic childhood. My parents did the best that they could for where they were. But it wasn't a loving, necessarily, great upbringing either. And, um, and also some of that too was, kind of being brainwashed a little bit with what I was taught in nursing school as what was healthy and normal, but yet, still, doing those healthy, normal things. And yet I still didn't feel good. I still was bloated. I still just was exhausted all the time. Like I could just sleep constantly. I was so tired. And I was like 22 or 23 at the time. And I was like, this can't be what the rest of my life looks like. Um, and so my primary care provider, they just wanted to put me on birth control. They're like, oh, birth control will help, help your hormones regulate and, help kind of steady you out. And I'm like, I don't accept that answer. Like I, it took me a long time, like I said, because I was going to nursing school and I was taught what the doctors were telling me. And yet I was the classic example of doing the right things and still not feeling good. And so I didn't even have, I didn't have much experience in the functional medicine side, like I said, until then. And I started doing some research online and then, yeah, I came across a functional medicine doctor and that was life-changing for me. So,
And so maybe for the listeners who don't know, what exactly is the difference of between normal Western medicine and functional medicine?
yeah, so functional medicine takes more of a natural approach. They look at more of like the root cause, so why something is happening. Western medicine, which is great for, more like, if you chop off your leg or something like that happens, and, that's a great time for Western medicine. But the problem is with Western medicine is they are more of like a Band-Aid. They're more of like a, let's throw this pill at this, or they don't talk about, nutrition and, your emotions and your, just lifestyle in general, and then the quality food that you're putting into your body also. That's not to no fault of their own. That's just not how Western medicine doctors are trained. And there's, a lot of different reasons behind that, but for the sake of the doctors, that's not how they're trained. And so the difference is being functional medicine, they're going to look at why is this happening rather than let's put you on birth control. They're going to say, why at 22 years old do you need birth control if you're not trying to prevent having children? Like, and so, and that's what I needed. And that's what most people need, unless you have, like I said, a chronic issue that requires a medication. So.
Yeah. Yeah, it's such a phenomena, right? That I feel that also it's my excuse me, it's mind blowing that we're just okay, I don't know if this was um, noticed, but yeah, we were just a bit distracted by animals around us. So I was saying it's mind-blowing to me how I don't want to say the average person, but how it is so common to just accept that there is something going on. There is this band-aid, like you say, a pill or whatever it is. Um, but the digging underneath mostly doesn't happen, right? Where is this coming from? It's just like we want to kill and cut off what's bothering us without questioning and asking, where is it coming from? How can I maybe change my lifestyle and not cause it again? Like you say, symptoms always, it's a sign. It's our body talking to us. So yeah, so talk a little bit more about that. What happened then for you and what I'm sure it kicked off a journey of changes and mindset shifts maybe too.
Yeah. So for me, um, I had to make, like I said, I thought I was, eating healthy and, doing all of the healthy things until I hired a functional medicine doctor. And that was really eye-opening for me because I remember her having me do, she called it a food and mood journal. And I had to write down everything that I ate. It was for like 7 days, if I remember correctly, everything that I ate, and then how I felt after I ate each of those things. And when I presented that to her, I was like, wow, no, like I did really good. Like I eat really well. And she in a very respectful way tore that apart. And I mean, I was eating things like Cheerios and like frosted mini wheats and like Cheerios has like heart healthy on the box. And, I didn't really eat beef. I ate a lot of like chicken um and so in hindsight, knowing everything I know now, I'm like, well, of course I didn't feel well.
Mhm.
Um, And I just didn't, I did a lot of like really like HIIT workouts, and I know they're super popular. And for some women, they're great. I loved them. I still love them. I love doing them, but my body does not love them. And so, like, just making some lifestyle changes, the types of workouts I was doing, and learning what eating healthy actually meant, and, things to avoid and that I should lean into more. And something I want to say about that too, especially within the internet world, is just because your favorite influencer is eating something or doing something specific and they look great and they feel great does not mean it's great for you. Um, and I kind of like fell into that too. It's like I would see things online and I was like, oh, well, they're taking this supplement and they're, eating this food and they look great and they're saying that they feel great. But then when I did that, I didn't feel great. And
Mhm.
so, and I still can fall into that, even though I have the knowledge and everything at my fingertips. I still can, fall into that trap sometimes. And I have to kind of like bring myself back. Like that's not what my body needs. I'm glad it's working great for them. That's not what I need. Kind of like the whole like keto and, eating specific diets. That might be great for, someone. My thyroid hates it. Like it does not work for me. So,
Mhm.
and it was kind of just so when I hired the functional medicine doctor, she gave me, a lot of tools, but a lot of it was trial and error that I had to do because and I do this with my clients now. I can give them a lot of tools, but I can't promise you how something might feel. Like I can say, or look at, labs and run labs and say, this is what I'm seeing, let's make these changes. But how everybody's body responds is going to be different. And so it took a couple years for me. I started to feel like better and better and better. But then, it'd be like I'd go up, two steps, one step back, two steps, one step back until finally I was like, wow, I feel really good. And that also kind of kicked off my journey to reading and, entering into the functional medicine space myself. I read a ton of books and podcasts and started taking courses and more courses. And I still, I'm almost 10 years into this and I still take courses and read tons of books because I'm just so fascinated with it. And I don't know why more people don't know more about this side of health. They should. Everybody should know what it feels to feel good.
Yeah, yeah, that's why we have these conversations, right? So that more women learn about it. And I feel like a lot of times you go, and I've seen that in my mom, especially like in my early childhood. I have memories. She ran to the doctor and came back, and they always told her your labs look fine, right? But she didn't feel good. And what kinds of tests or evaluations do you find genuinely helpful when the standard blood work doesn't actually explain what's going on?
Yeah, so I love actually even just standard blood work. I do that actually tells you so much. The problem is the person interpreting it. So like I said, I'm kind of a classic example of that also. When I first started my health journey, when I was going to my primary care provider, I had so many labs done and I had to fight to actually have these labs done, which was, a whole nother thing. For some reason, they just don't want to run labs, which is strange because they're pretty inexpensive to do. And so I finally, had pushed and pushed and pushed to have labs done, and we did, and they came back normal, according to my primary care provider. Now, I had given those same exact labs to my functional medicine doctor, and she was like, "Wow, I see red flags everywhere." And the reason being is in functional medicine, they have a range, and if you're within that range, it's considered normal. But there's normal and then there's optimal. And even though I was falling within the normal ranges change according to the population. So if we have a sick population, which is what we're running into now, like they just changed the blood pressure guidelines. And so it's like if we have a sick population, you're going to have a sick normal versus, what should be optimal. And so I run standard labs on a lot of clients, or because I don't accept insurance, I'm always more than happy to accept, the labs that they did have their primary care provider run. But beyond that, I also love like a GI map, which looks into your gut. It's a stool test and it looks into your gut and it gives you a lot of helpful information. That's not a diagnostic test. We don't diagnose with that test, but it gives you, a lot of insight into like the imbalances in your gut and what could be happening directly, inside of your stomach. And there are lab markers that can give us a lot of insight too. So the GI map isn't necessarily a need. It's more of a depends on what, the person's going through as to whether or not we would even order that. And then I like HTMA tests also. That's a hair tissue mineral analysis.
Mhm.
That gives us good insight into like minerals in your body and heavy metals. There is, for me personally, there is no like one size fits all. It really, when someone comes to me, we spend like 2 hours in their first appointment, going over how they're feeling, things they've tried, you know, whatever they might have going on. And I base the labs and like what I order around that specific person. So not everybody needs a GI map and not everybody needs labs done. So it's kind of a balance.
Mhm.
But there are definitely some like specific markers like your vitamin D. Most of us are vitamin D deficient. Having a full thyroid panel, not just a TSH.
Mhm.
Um, and so there are definitely, lab markers that I dig deeper into, but there is no one size fits all. And I do love blood labs. You just have to know how to interpret them from a functional perspective versus, just being within a normal range.
And it's such a good example for like our representation of how society works in general, because it's a little bit like with business coaching, and I do feel that the industry has shifted, but it's still there's just some coaches out there still giving advice out like that doesn't work for everyone. And I'm always like this advocate. you are unique, and so your strategy needs to be unique, and so is your body, your health. And if you go to see a doctor, um, it's also like it's so crucial who you talk to. Get a second opinion, try something new. And so I love that you are approaching this in a very individualized way and customized way. And I'm curious, like, how has this affected you as a mother? It must have been also quite a journey.
Yeah. Yeah. So when I when I first, started, I had hired the functional medicine doctor and I had first started changing my lifestyle and changing my eating. I was the one that did all the cooking. So naturally, my husband and my kids started eating what I was eating. Now it wasn't an overnight thing for them. Like there were some things that they love now, but 10 years ago, they were like, they hated it. They absolutely did not like it whatsoever. So it's been kind of a transition for them now also, but it's been such a huge impact on them. Like they can read food labels and they know what it means. Like they know what it means. They know that when they, are choosing to put something healthy in their body, how that's going to make them feel versus, when they're choosing to maybe indulge in something that's not quite as healthy and what that's going to make them feel. And so I've really kind of, especially with kids, I've tried to tread lightly because I don't want them to have any kind of like poor eating habits or end up with, I don't even know the word I'm looking for. I don't want them to, get older, move out of my house and just binge on junk because mom didn't eat the junk or didn't allow the junk. So I don't, or like when Halloween comes around or when, they're out at friends' houses and they're eating candy, I don't want them to have any kind of like negative feelings towards that. So I've tried to kind of stay a little more neutral. But it has actually, them watching how my husband and I eat, they want to eat like we do. They want to work out like we do. They want to do things similar to us. And not that they're always perfect or anything like that. I'm not perfect. Um, but it's been good for them for sure.
Mhm. Yeah, teaching them awareness and like just conscious choices. And I guess that's all we can do. We set a foundation at home and then off they go and make their own choices. And hopefully the little voice and the upbringing sticks. That's that's what I always think. Oh my gosh. Um, but yeah, I guess this is also one of the biggest challenges as a mother or a parent in general, you know, learning to release control because you can't. They're
Yes.
individual little humans and they will make their own choices. So it's
Yeah. And I like on the food side of things, like I try to give them the space to make their own choices. Like I said, when they go to friends' houses and, maybe a birthday party and they ate some cake, they have realized like they notice how they feel after. Like
Mhm.
in like even like my youngest one, he will say no thank you. Like that doesn't make me feel great when I eat it. Or which instead of like overindulging and so, I mean, he does without even me putting a huge effort on or like forcing them to eat healthy food. They just have started to eat and do things the way that my husband and I do. And so, I mean, like you said, they're their own human beings. So there's definitely foods that I like that they don't, or foods that they like that I don't, even in, healthy foods. But generally speaking, they definitely eat very similar to how my husband and I eat without us even needing to put a huge, emphasis on, making them eat, certain foods.
Yeah. And then you also mentioned like that there's some sort of silent slowdown that can happen in midlife. Talk us a little bit through what is actually happening in the body of women, right? It's the related to the hormones.
Yeah, yeah. So as women, we can be kind of complex in compared to men. And so, we have not more hormones, but how our hormones sync is different than men. And, we have women like I'm entering in that stage myself. And so I can firsthand speak on the symptoms that come along with that and how I'm trying to navigate that. But you enter in like more of like the perimenopause phase.
Mhm.
And, you're not labeled menopause yet, and you can be in this phase for like 10 years. I mean, there's definitely a stretch of time. Um,
And
and
so
you,
early too, right?
yeah,
Like,
I mean, it can start as, a lot of times, like you'll look at when your mother or your grandmother went through perimenopause or menopause, and that can be a guide. It doesn't just because maybe they went through menopause at 40 doesn't mean you're going to, but it can be a guide. Like you know that your mom did, so you might be in that range. But there's a lot of things that come into play there, like lifestyle and food choices and stress, like all of those things. And so, you have women that are entering into this perimenopause stage and they're going to their primary care providers and they're kind of getting brushed off. And they're kind of running into a lot of the symptoms that I had when I initially got sick, like maybe not sleeping, like wired, but not tired. Like you go lay down and you're like, I feel so tired, but I just can't sleep. Or they're bloated. They're like, wow, I don't know where this came from. Maybe they're, you know, gaining weight and they're like, I haven't changed anything. Why am I putting on weight all of a sudden?
Mhm.
Um, and really it's their hormones. And so, and your hormones are going to make natural shifts. Like that is just life as we age. But it's just making sure that you are giving your hormones and giving your body what they need so that way you can make it through that to the next phase pretty seamless. And that's kind of my goal. And that's my goal when I'm helping, patients also is you're going to enter menopause. It's just let's enter that phase as smoothly as we can without the hot flashes and without the sleepless nights and without the excess weight gain or lack of the ability to lose weight. Like some women are like, I'm not gaining weight. In fact, I'm trying to lose weight and I can't. And
Mm.
so, um, yeah, and your hormones work in a symphony. And so as you get older, you have hormones that drop more than others. And just like even like throughout the month, like from the time that you start your cycle till the time that you end, and the different phases throughout the month affects how you feel and affects, your energy and your mood and those kinds of things too. And so just trying to get your hormones as much in a symphony as you possibly can, especially entering into those years, is
Mhm.
is key for sure.
And then maybe also like what I've experienced, and that's I think that doesn't even I'm not sure if it's related, but it's definitely kicked in after, having babies, and how the body changes then and what you can and cannot do anymore versus before kids. I think once you are in this awareness stage where you say, okay, I'm different now, plus a top, now I'm entering this new phase that you just described, maybe just also give yourself some slack and say, there are just now natural cycles that I can't, push against. Or if I do, I feel bad and the outcome is bad. And so what I've done in my day-to-day life, I'm just looking at my cycle and I keep that week before menstruation, I just keep it without any live calls. Like I don't do my master classes. I don't do anything because I know I'm not gonna feel good. I'm just like not in my highest, not that I'm like I'm be really honest. I haven't had any really strong symptoms of my hormones, but I can feel that I'm just not really energetic. And why put myself through something like a life challenge or hosting my group program? So I'm adjusting my business and the activities with my kids according to my cycle. And that's been a real game changer. And I know a lot of like entrepreneurs these days or women in, mid-age and above, they're just saying there's this one week in the month where we have completely nothing going on, which is amazing. I feel like this could be the next thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it's funny you say that because like I said, working with clients, I have clients that will ask me, like, if there's times like wrapped around working out in particular, like that they shouldn't do maybe certain workouts wrapped around like their cycle. And I always leave that up to them. And that's a time that I really want them to like lean into how they're feeling and listen to what their body is telling them. Because the week leading up to my period, that is when I am the most productive. That's when I am most concentrated. That's when I feel amazing. That's when I'm like pushing it in the gym.
Oh, wow.
Whereas like the week that I'm ovulating, forget it. Like not the entire week. There's probably 2 or 3 days in there that I feel more of like PMS symptoms. Like I'm just not feeling up to it.
Mm,
Whereas there's other women who are the opposite, probably like you, where, the week leading up to your period, you're like, no, keeping my schedule light. But when you're ovulating, you're probably like, I feel really good. Like this
yeah.
is when I can kind of push a little more. And that's where, like I said, we're all different. We're all what works for you might not work for me. And that's where people, they need to be careful with what they're getting for information and, how they're proceeding with their own health. Because if they're not guided correctly, or they're guided based on how someone else feels versus what they need and how they feel, like they might just end up feeling worse.
Right.
So,
Right. So yeah, that's why it's so important to, have the right people, and the work you're doing is amazing. Creating more awareness and talking about it is just part of your mission, I guess. And it's good that you're spreading that. Is there anything in the context of serenity and, it sounds like this has been one of your epiphany stories where you're really standing up for yourself and going deep into the health um, topics so that you can be that strong woman and mother and wife. Would you like to go like give one advice for people who are maybe not there yet or still looking for how am I actually going to do it?
yeah. Um, I would say to stick up for yourself, like especially, we're talking in the health space, but you know, your doctor works for you. And I think people sometimes forget that. And I know that when I was going through that, I kind of felt intimidated and like I needed to just, my doctor says that's what I should do, so I should do that. And they're probably right and I'm wrong. And I felt kind of dismissed. And so, um, definitely learn to stand up for yourself. Like your doctor works for you. It's okay for you to ask your doctor, for certain things, or to, if your doctor's, kind of giving you a little bit of pushback, to let them know, like, that's just not how I'm feeling. And if they don't want to move forward with your plan, hire a new doctor, and that's okay. Don't
Mm,
feel intimidated by your doctor. Don't let them gaslight you. Like, stand up for yourself and learn how to listen to what your body is telling you, because your body is telling you a lot of things. So your symptoms are a sign of something, whatever it might be, whether it's your bloating or your anxiety or stress, or your body's telling you something is wrong. So leaning into how your body is showing you those signs.
mm. Yeah, it's probably also one of the biggest gifts you can give your children to start teaching them when they're little. And it's never too late. Like even with teenagers, I suppose that you're creating this awareness, listening to your body, connecting with yourself, and then making those, educated and informed decisions. And once that is in place and becomes something so natural, and like reading food labels and knowing exactly what it means and making choices, um, that feels like a very, very great setup for not falling into the trap of even going then and having like depending on someone else. Um, isn't that the goal?
Yeah, yeah, definitely, for sure. And I also just want to say, like, to add on to what you just said, like, you can be someone that truly is eating healthy and maybe you are living, a healthier lifestyle and you still don't feel good. And that's okay too. Like you need to learn how to lean into whatever your body's telling you. And like I said, I thought I was eating healthy and doing all of the right things also. But you need to learn, even if you are that person, you could have imbalances. It could be, your environment, maybe mold, or there could be like other things that are triggering your health issues that are not food or even lifestyle.
Mm,
So
so true.
definitely,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, there's so much more to it, right? It's not this one route. So yeah, thanks for adding that. And yeah, thank you so much for sharing all this insights and wisdom and knowledge. And I hope that the listeners today get rattled again and question, look behind, and most foremost, I would say to me is really important to connect with yourself and also take charge of your life in that sense that you just don't let everyone or outside society, doctors, whoever you talk to, impose their opinion onto what is good for you because you know best, right? You know best after all. Thank you for being on the show. The listeners can connect with you. We will link to your um, offers, to your website. And yeah, I'm looking forward to sharing this episode with everyone.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This has been great.
Yeah, thanks.